seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of SA Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry. Joining me tonight is Rafa. And on Friday, me and Royce will try to get together to go over the Real Monarchs, or not the Real Monarchs game, the New York Red Bulls game, and preview Sac Republic. And maybe Rafa will be able to partake in a Friday evening, but he might have other plans for that here. So, how are you doing this evening, Rafa?
Good. Just doing my traveling thing, but locally. So
you're still in town?
Yeah, I'm still in town. I'll be in town most of this time, except for I think the 24th I go to Austin, but it's just a day trip.
Well, be safe up there, the land of the broccoli, fake trees, along those lines here. Although they did not do well last Saturday. We'll just leave it at that here. But a team that did well last Saturday was San Antonio. Well, they did enough to get through in a game that I thought that they controlled most of the action. Unfortunately, the final third kind of let them down as far as the finish touch until the 80th minute when Marcus Epps got the goal with an assist by PC to win 1-0 over the Real Monarchs, which will be the unfortunately the last time that we face Real Monarchs, most likely, because they'll be going to the MLS Reserve League next year for that here. So your initial thoughts on the game, for here, we'll start with the starting lineup, which they went back to the 3-4-3 for that here, with Tainter, Schulberg, Ford, Maloney, PC, Lindley, Abu, Nathan, Epps, and Jose Gallegos for that here. So your thoughts on, we'll start with the starting, and of course Matt in the goal, which made him the all-time SAFC appearance leader for that here, and congratulations, Matt, on passing the captain, Greg Cochran.
Just like the lineup the game before against Austin, it was pretty much kind of similar to that, and it was, I don't know, it was like a game that it was just dragging. It was just dragging, and we were trying to get the ball in. We just couldn't get anything. One of the comments I did hear from the commentators, like, that both teams seemed probably the worst passing out of both teams in the game, and we just couldn't connect anything. And that's something maybe that does needs to be fixed. I think our passing needs to, not necessarily the possession, but the passing needs to be more efficient and better.
Yeah, Real Monarchs was at 67.5, and SAFC was at 78.7. SAFC faces actually the Red Bulls. One of their biggest thing is the passing as well. So, so that should help us out a little bit with that here. Royce mentions Epps' winning goal from zone 14, like Rafa wanted. And then Axel looked so much more comfortable in the back three than a back four, night and day from Tuesday.
Yeah, that we can tell Axel really. I think he felt comfortable playing with Tanner and Ford. That's. I think that was the missing element. I think the coaches have kind of realized that, not to no disrespect to some of the other defenders we have, we just didn't have enough speed in the back to maybe to recover from any counterattacks or anything, or if someone got beat, someone could get back there. So I think Axel kind of like that. He can still kind of sit back a bit and do his thing, but you can tell the defense is a lot better as far as just getting also into the attack, but also recovering. I think that's where we get killed. We got killed a lot as those counterattacks. We're just too slow. I mean, I like the physicality that some of the players we have on the defending, but we do need speed in the back. And then I know with Kamiri out, which he has both. Having getting forward and Tanner really kind of uplifted that area because the cracks started to show in some of those games.
Yes.
Especially like against El Paso. And I think that game when Ford came back, I think he made a little difference on that. So, and then
to me, it made me wonder why Ford didn't play against Austin. And I'm not saying that it would have made that much difference. Don't get me wrong, but I do think with him and Tainter with Schulberg, it does make a bigger difference for their here. So. Royce mentions that Ford brings the mobility, which helps Maloney on the right wing, which is a huge plus as well in the back three. Yes, Royce, I know you said he rested, but he hasn't played for 2 years, so I'm sure he's tired of rest at this point. But I understand there's rotation within the lineup, and like I said here, obviously with Ford, you do want to take extra precautions with them. But for me, like I said here, you can tell a difference when he's not on the pitch. And I think to me, what makes him a little bit more special is you see a little bit more that leadership. Like between Ford, Schulberg, and Tainer. It seemed like they have, even though it's been very short, they have a lot of understanding of what the roles are, and they help recover for each other. At least you saw that in this match here quite a bit.
Yeah, the one thing is, like I said, it's good to have some depth on that. Especially with Kamiri out. I mean, Barella's Barella's done excellent when he's come on when needed. So even Doyle at the time too. And especially some of the injuries that we have, we kind of have to change up some of the lineup, but it's helped, So hopefully, like I said, we heal up a lot quicker, and because we're getting to that crunch time, that crazy October, and that's where we're gonna hopefully make our move and get into at least in the second slot. Because I don't know. I don't think we'll get into El Paso's area.
I don't think you're passing El Paso. As much as I would like to say that, they're up 11 points on us.
Unless they totally choke, which I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't.
Hard injury.
Yeah, injury would be the big thing for them. But, I was listening to Seriously Loco. They've actually got quite a bit of depth right now. For that here, where like their last match, Solinak didn't even start. He came on as a sub late, and they took care of Sac Republic fairly convincing. Now it was in El Paso, and we know, what a fortress, that baseball field is where the Chihuahuas play. But to me, it's this is the key match here, for this 4-game road trip for here where. If you can get that win in there, that means with Austin, I think there was a missed opportunity, but Austin, new coach, lots of rest. It was a trap game. They handled their business against Real Monarchs. They get Sacramento on Saturday, which is tough in Sacramento, but Sacramento is not as. I don't think they're as talented, as we are. And their form is not even close to what San Antonio is for that here at this point. So to me, tomorrow's an important match with that, because the other aspect here, I didn't do the schedule here tonight for that here, the standings, but Colorado Springs, I believe, is only 1 point ahead of us in the standings, and they play El Paso tomorrow night in Colorado Springs. So El Paso is on the road, so there is an opportunity, maybe for Colorado Springs to pick up a win to tighten it. But I think for me, I'm almost to the point where I'd say rather sacrifice El Paso. Okay, you've got first. If San Antonio can finish second, and right now the Mountain outside of Phoenix has 4 out of the top 5 spots as far as in the West here as far as seeding. So if they could get past, their first round opponent, hopefully at home if they finish second. If Rising got upset, or if you could beat Rising, there's a possibility you could still host a little, in the future. So it's still an uphill battle for San Antonio FC, but I do think that tomorrow is a key match, because that's probably the weakest opponent left on the schedule for San Antonio FC. And I know it's kind of weird saying that about New York Red Bulls, because historically they've been a very solid MLS2 team, but the last couple of years just hasn't been. Kind of like Real Monarchs have kind of fell off, where Real Monarchs have 16 points at 4-4-14 losses and a negative 18 goal difference. Red Bulls are even worse at 4-4-14, 16 points as well, but a negative 25 goal difference. So they've scored 26, gave up 51, and this includes a 6-0 thrashing just this past match to Tampa Bay Rowdies. So there is some goals to be found, I have a feeling. So we can do that now. One thing that I did want to kind of touch base on, on the the last thing I wanted to touch base on the Real Monarchs was the lack of substitutions. Lima came in the 82nd minute for Nathan. Dylan came in, in the 76th minute for Lindley. I think I was probably about the 60th minute, somewhere 65th, somewhere, mid second half. You could tell the players up top were a little bit gassed, for that here. But to me, I was kind of surprised, even though we're in this big stretch, really no subs to speak of, until very late. From there, any thoughts on that? On the bench they do have Torres, Hapano, Dylan and Lima, came in. Obviously, you don't necessarily need to make a defensive sub, but to me, your thoughts on not giving, let's say Torres, a shot up there and inject some of his speed and youthfulness into the lineup.
I think it goes back to trust, because I'm noticing the last couple games, they're just not very confident as far as with substitutions. You have Lima going in because he has experience, and also with Dylan. But after that, it's kind of like you kind of fall. There's a drop. Honestly, not saying that as far as talent, but it may is more trust.
There's a drop in talent, but to me, they did the trade with Cuello for Tainer.
Mm-hmm.
Which helped the back line, which for Marcina, as Royce has said 100 times, he's more of a defensive coach, which has helped shore that up. But I think it's created a gap or a hole offensively where you miss that creativity. You miss that a little bit of that speed that Cuello or Pirano had, the last couple of years. We don't really have that, with this team at this point.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's something that maybe, I guess it was as far as that loan that was done. Search for a player like that, because they are going to need somebody in that area, especially since, let's say, with Cuello out in Sacramento. We don't know, like I said, with, God forbidding something happens to PC, but if he goes down, we really don't have much there besides Mohammed and Lindley. We're kind of up a creek there.
But I think it's more, not that I want PC to go down, but I think it's more if Nathan Epps or Jose goes down, then that's where you're real thin. Because I think, as we saw, unless you think PC can move forward, I know he's a little bit more defensive. To me, he's kind of like Rafa Castillo, back on there where, he's just got that experience. He knows where to be. He's got tricks that he can pull out. That'll just amaze people. So to me, like I said, here he reminds me a lot of Rafa, where he can play. He can play up top. It's probably not his best position.
Yeah.
But he could play and get results. But to me, as we talked, this was kind of a big year for Torres. To me, where he's not getting, he's on the 18, which is great, but it doesn't seem like, as you mentioned, either, he's just not getting that time. And like I said, I for one would like to see a little bit more, just to see, because you got to know what he's got. And, if he's not doing it in practice, that may be saying what we have. But if, to me, I'd like to see him, because I think some people do perform better game day than in practice.
Well, here's a scenario. It's kind of like what happened with Ethan Bryant. Was Ethan not good enough? I mean, who's better, Ethan or let's say I just
Torres
or Torres? Who's a better player?
Well, I think Torres is, and that's nothing against Ethan Bryant. I think Torres has a little bit more potential for that here, and even in his limited minutes, I thought he's done well. I'm not quite the tactical guy that you and Royce are, but when he's been on the field, I haven't seen anything that's been like, hey, he needs to be off the field. Now, he hasn't had a lot of opportunities, and that's kind of where the issue comes into.
So what I think they need to do, if that's the scenario, they don't really trust him too much, or they don't think, okay, he doesn't have experience. Go loan him off to another team, but bring in somebody with experience to, at least help that area that you're missing. That way, at least he develops and gets the playing time that he needs. Because I'm sure, like I said, if Ethan's getting his playing time there in Richmond, we probably hopefully see a different player coming into the next season. And I think that should have been done with him. The other players like Hapa,
he's the one that kind of surprised, because he is on loan from the Sounders, Seattle, and he's not getting any minutes. You almost wonder if SAFC would be better to send him back and and see if they can find somebody that plays that more attacking mid, because that's part of my frustration is you have an MLS quality player on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jose was gassed. You could just see it, and he takes a lot of abuse with the fouls that he gets, the fouls that he creates and stuff like that. But it was just for me with the stretch that we're in, 2 subs. Unless there's going to be a huge lineup change, which we did think, was a possibility, especially on the back line, and some of the news on there is Liam Doyle, who's been out of the 18 for 3-4 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, unfortunately for us, was loaned out to Indy 11. Good for him. So, given from my understanding with Indy 11, they were needing a center back and of quality. And, to me, Doyle's a solid, good center back. I don't know if he, like you mentioned, I think as far as what Marcina's looking for, I don't know if he quite fits that at this point, especially with Ford and Tainer and being back, or Tainer being back and Ford, being on loan. I just don't think there were minutes for Doyle. But like I said here, especially at the start of the season, he was pretty pivotal in helping SAFC. We say they struggled, but it's not like they got losses. They were getting ties, which is a sign of a good team for that here. But he had 13 matches. 10 starts, played 979 minutes with us for that here. So, like I said here, you want to wish Liam much success over in Indy 11 for that here and for the straight trend for them. Your thoughts on Liam being moved out?
I mean, he deserves the playing time because he's a good defender. I think our system our defensive system changed. I think Marcino realized. I think the whole thing was the El Paso game,
Mm-hmm.
and that game kind of opened his eyes that we need speed back there. We need fast defenders because we do have fast wings. That's with Maloney, Muhammad, all that.
Gleedle.
Yeah, Gleedle. So we're okay there, but the problem was we were getting killed as far as speed wise with our defenders, and I think that loss really kind of opened the eyes of the team, and made that decision. Say, hey, you know what? We need to get two defenders that have speed that maybe can complement also. Axel, and then if, like I said, Kamari's like has those characters right now. Like I said, he's out. He's questionable right now. I think Varela has that too because
Mm-hmm.
she's shown that. But I think Doyle, if you look at especially like that one game down in RGV when we lost to them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the
But
speed
he was
and also
playing out of position too on that
yeah,
one.
and
So
but
to be
yeah,
fair,
to be fair, yeah. But I think also the speed wise, I think that kind of he was that hurt him a little bit, especially to be put in a situation like that. So, and I think it's for Indian to make that move. It's good for them because they need some help on defense because they've been getting out goals. So we'll get that playing time. But I think this just our system of play changed as far as in the back. We just needed to get faster because I think in our conference we probably have some of the fastest forwards that we have to contend with.
mm-hmm.
Not so much with the East because I think we did pretty well, like with Pittsburgh and Birmingham. We're able to contain their forwards, but when you looking at El Paso, Phoenix,
Phoenix,
you know,
the Loyal's picked up some speed. Colorado
yeah,
Springs, yeah. There's and even our uh,
Lopez,
Frank Lopez is now in RGV. I know Royce, Mr. Instagram, saw that Patino was doing some exercises without a boot, so he's thinking that he might be back by October, which would help the attack tremendously. You just got to wonder how fast that he can get back into shape. Gleedle's another one that we're kind of missing. You got to kind of wonder how much longer that they're going to be out. I keep thinking Gleedle may be back after this road trip. If not, they come home and play New Mexico, and then they're back out on the road for 2 against Oklahoma City and then El Paso, and then on the 10th, they're home basically 4 out of 5 with Memphis, Tulsa, New Mexico away, Austin, and the switchback. So to me, I'm hoping we can get through these next 2 games for that here. The home game against New Mexico, I think, will be a big game. Just because it'll be the first time they've been home and since the 4th, so it'll be 21 days, 3 weeks.
yeah.
That they
I think
haven't
we
been
should
home.
win that. We should win that game because New Mexico's been stinking it up.
Yeah, but with New Mexico is one of those. It's a funny series. The home teams won, and the home teams won big.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of continue that trend for that here. So thoughts on so looking at the red, one final thought that I had here, and I think this is kind of where kind of looking at Shannon Hopino, where he's only played 149 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and Torres has only played 46 minutes. Jordan Perusa, who was here for 6 games, has more minutes than they do at 158. And then you got Ollie Wright as well. You kind of wonder where he's at. Where maybe he could get you spell, because we need to spell.
He's got the speed. He's just. I think the one thing is the control. I think that's what he needs to. I think improve on his game. I mean, he's a great player as far as like he's a go getter, but also I think there were some games he was a little bit like a defensive liability. To come back and come defend. I think that's why maybe he hasn't been, especially with this formation. If you're going to play a 3-4-3, you have to go back and defend. And if he's doesn't have those tendencies to do that, that can affect you for what you want to do, and then it's really gonna he's not in the playing. It's not gonna get the playing time because of that, and that made the same thing with Shannon too. Is like, I'm just surprised with that they will ask for a loan for him, and he's not playing. And I would have just sent him back to Seattle and try to find another player that maybe will complement to the style that we have now.
All right. So looking at the Red Bulls, as we discussed, the late goals are really bad. For that here, looking at who their leading goal scorers, Omar So is a forward. He's got 6 goals. And then Jonathan pointed out that Jake LaCava and Jeremy Raffanello both on the wings. 5 and 4 goals apiece there. So they do have some speed on the outside, but they're a real young team right now, and I hate saying that, but to me, like I said here, it's hard to know facing a 2 team, with the New York Red Bulls. Looking at their starters here as far as matches played, Daniel Edelman's played 22 matches. So's played 21. Lavaka's played 21. Raffanella's played the 20, and then defender Tumbles played 20. So it doesn't seem like they have a lot of player rotation, at least with their big players. And then of course goalie's kind of like Real Monarchs, where they've played 2 of them pretty consistent, split between the 2. But to me, kind of expectations, we'll kind of just look on San Antonio's side, since the Red Bulls are they're an Eastern team. I've watched them a couple of times, and they haven't looked good. They're just they're just a young team. They make mistakes, and to me the defense is ripe for attacking. Looks like they recently have been playing a 4-4-2. Prior to August, they did a stretch of a 4-2-2-2, 4-2-2-2-3-2s on there. So, your thoughts on how San Antonio FC should attack this match? For that.
Well, they need to go with guns blazing and put them down early. We can't have what happened. Yeah, we can't have what happened on Saturday, because you can tell like the Monarchs are getting some confidence going late with that 0-0, with that. Luckily, Epps bailed us out. So this game, you need to go out there and go kick their butts, get a lead right away in a big league too. So that way, one of the things they said, they play again Saturday against Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the game that you need to blow out your team. That way, your best players can play. Some of your other players can get the rest, because I think we do need those 3 points in the West Coast with the Sacramento game. But this game, we just cannot do what we did Saturday. Is just drag this out, keep them keep them believing that they're in this game. So they're coming off a 6-0 loss with Tampa. We need to do the same thing too. Don't give them any confidence, and I expect Epps and Nathan and Gallegos to have a big game, but also I like to see some of our midfielders get into the attack too, take some shots. I've been looking for those shots from the outside. I don't know how, like Royce had mentioned, down on the zone 14, and we have the players to do that. I know PC's got the leg to do it. I'm sure Mohammed's, he's missed a couple of them on the side, but he's got the leg too. And like I said, if Lima's in there, he's going to take some shots. So the one thing I do want to see improve is the passing. And this is a game to really kind of, if we get 80% accuracy, we're going to win this game. If we're under that, it's going to be just another dragged out from what happened on Saturday.
So, your thoughts on how this game goes? You think they get a 2-0, 3-0 win, or is that what you're kind of predicting?
I'll
Or
go with the conservative 3-0.
3-0?
I think 3-0.
I think too. I think I wouldn't mind them getting a 3-0 lead and then having that ability to maybe put in some of the some of the younger players for the second half, so that way you can give some minutes up top. It'll be interesting. I know Royce sent a picture that said that Jessica Kamiri was in Salt Lake, so that tells me he is on the trip. It'd be kind of cool to see about getting him some minutes. I'd love to see the Kamiri, Taintor forward back line like we had. I think it was against El Paso, right?
Yeah.
Back against El Paso, or at least get a few minutes to be able to do that for that here. I do think it's going to be a convincing one as well. Kickoffs at 6:00 on ESPN Plus. It's kind of late here. Been a long day here. Any final thoughts that you have, or anything else that you want to add that we didn't get to tonight?
Just like I said, looking forward for tomorrow's game. Like I said, these are 3 points that no excuse not to get, and hopefully, like I said, we get a big lead, and that way we can put some of our bench players in and rest up for the Saturday's big one versus it is I think it's a big game versus Sacramento, because those are 3 points that if we can pull that off, it's going to get us closer to clinching a playoff spot. That way we can kind of push ourselves away from the other teams. So that's what I look forward to. And then final thoughts. A little shocked today about seeing Man U lose to the Young Boys. So I know some peeps are they're Man U fans. I'm like, so I'm not gonna make fun of that because Real Madrid plays tomorrow against Inter. So I was just a little surprised that they lost. I thought that they should have won that game, but so it's good to have back a Champions League back again. But it was good to see Barcelona lose.
It is good. Just kind of odds and end notes. U.S. Soccer announced that the Open Cup bid's going to go to the fourth MLS team instead of having the four USL League One, NISA winner, USLC, and that fourth team kind of at least have, let's say, a mini tournament for it. They just went flat out, handed it to them, so that happened there. The ticket prices for the Mexico. That's the other thing I wanted to talk to you on about real quick here. The Mexico-U.S. match in Cincinnati, the pricing came out, and cheapest tickets in the nosebleeds, $125, and that's the cheapest ticket. And I understand it's a smaller stadium. I understand that it's against Mexico, but their line of, well, it's only once every 4 years. Well, I hate to tell people this, but yeah, they qualify once every 4 years, but every time Mexico and U.S. plays, it's this price of tickets. It's you're not making this any special, but that was one thing that I did want to touch base with you on, the CONCACAF qualifying with Mexico. Your thoughts on the first three matches. I think they won 2, tied Panama. Not the prettiest of results. They got the results, but I think from the feedback that I've got, wasn't the prettiest. A lot of the fans are not exactly happy, I guess you could say. They're happy they got the results, but not necessarily happy how they got the results.
Well, two factors come in. One, Tata wasn't at 2 of the games, so you kind of miss out on his little magic there and the coaching staff. But the other issue, and it also probably affected U.S. national team too, is UEFA's being a bunch of punks, not letting their players come over here, like Chucky Lozano and Raul Jimenez. That's why I think Mexico struggled a bit, not having those players. And I'm sure that's the same thing with the U.S. not having some of their European players too.
U.S. wasn't really impacted because by the time they need it, the Pulisic had an injury. McKinney, unfortunately did McKinney things. And who was the other one? There was another one that, when I talked to Royce about it, it could have been much worse. But for the U.S., but they lucked out where they weren't as impacted as much as Mexico and Jamaica. I guess was another one that was really impacted by by this with a lot of the European-based players that they have for that here.
No, the one thing I wasn't happy about is I think they kept on sticking with Funes Mori. When you have Henry Martin, who's been doing well with, especially with Club America and also the Olympics, I said, hey, we'll start him. You're not gonna have Jimenez for right now. We'll start, and especially like we've seen Club America, they've been basically killing teams. They haven't lost a game, and I think that tomorrow they play. They play CONCACAF champions with Philadelphia. I think for the second game, but he's been real vital as far as playing well, getting goals and so forth. I think hopefully they'll give him some more playing time though. And then also missing Diego Lainez.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great Olympics too, and so you can tell. Like I said, there are some key players that really kind of get things going for them, and then that's why they struggled. But hey, to come out with 7 points, I'd take that. That's what you need, and I think, like I said, Mexico has won some games, big games at some of the U.S. wherever they played them at for the qualifier. I think hopefully they'll be at kind of full strength, and I think they can pull it off, and I think they can get a win or at least come out with
this window, but the next window, and I think is what November is when the Mexico match will be here, but. My final thought, like I said here, I want to thank everybody for tuning in for here and listening on the podcast. With it being, September, National Suicide Prevention Month. Like Royce mentioned, I've mentioned, Rafa's mentioned, if you ever need to discuss, please reach out to us. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. But just make sure you're there for people and if you don't necessarily have something nice to say, you can type it out, but don't hit send on Twitter or, just keep it to yourself. So, that way you don't necessarily get yourself in all worked up here, but we're going to call it a little bit short tonight. I know we usually try to go an hour, but we're a little bit about 37 minutes here. And like I said, here it's late, late for me, and I got to be up early. And Rafa, I think you mentioned you got to be up early. So do appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everybody has a great evening. And what's life without